What is up?
What is
How are you
up?
doing, Sin?
I'm awesome, man. I'm awesome. How's it going?
Oh, it's a wonderful evening tonight. Kids are in bed. I am just can't wait for tonight, buddy. Can't wait.
Yeah. Well, same here. Same here. We have a little announcement to make before we kick things off. I think Josh is going to
Yeah,
get
I'm
us
just
started.
gonna I'm just gonna kind of preface this a little bit, guys. Just so everybody knows. Tonight I'd like to keep things somewhat organized, also respectful to everyone tonight, since our guest is coming on. We're going to focus more on the love of collecting, guys. But in some of those topics that we're going to come and discuss tonight, there'll be some strong opinions. So bear in mind of that. My goal tonight is to urge some within the hobby, though, to realize we are all imperfect people that share a passion for collecting. And some may at times collect different things that may be like looked more as like investments and things that are overall looked downly sometimes on from collectors. But as some collections evolve day to day, there would be nothing wrong with collecting and investing to further your overall collection. Like I always say, collect what you want to collect, sell what you want to collect, or sell what you don't want to collect to ultimately get what you really want to truly get. And I just wanted to kind of say there was a time where Dan, those who know him, Dan the Great Curator, there was a time I actually didn't get along with Dan. And why I say don't get along with Dan, I watched a video and it was actually on PSA and Beckett grading. And he was saying that PSA was king and he was drinking the PSA juice. Well, at the time, I was very new to grading. I had already sent some of the graded cards into PSA, but then they weren't going to get back for like a year. And then I actually started grading with SGC a bit, and I liked some of those. And I watched. Big shout out to Retro Hoops Collectibles. He got me into SGC as well. And I actually just didn't know why everybody was drinking the PSA juice, right? Why grade just with PSA? Why is that why are they looked at as king? But a video that Great Curator had, I actually unsubscribed to him. And then it wasn't a few weeks later, a couple months later, during the time that I just kind of learned more about grading and just different parts of the hobby, I went ahead and started following him because some of his content was just right on the money as far as one hobby, whether you sports, Pokemon, Marvel, it's one hobby, and we all want to get along. And that's kind of what we're going to discuss tonight. Yeah, just go from there. So without further ado, let's get this started, Sin.
Yeah. So I kind of wrote some things down as well
Okay.
that I wanted to kind of cover real quick.
Yeah, here you go.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh,
Got
okay,
it.
cool.
You got it.
Cool.
Got
All right. So yeah, what I was going to talk about tonight was kind of leaning on, you know what?
All right, here we go, baby. And we got Dan, the Great Curator, with us tonight.
All right. I'm ready for this. Welcome, guys, to the first new meeting of the new Marvel Illuminati. Great to be here with you guys. What are we pumping? I mean, what are we talking about tonight?
Oh gosh, I love it. Geez, I want to actually just start off with Dan, you're an investor, not a collector.
I guess some people could call me that. I guess some people call me that. I like to think I'm both.
All right, those who don't know Dan, a lot of people don't know Dan, and Dan is first a collector. Very first. See all that stuff in the background? You see all of his goodies?
Guys, this is my 401k right here. Okay?
Right.
This stuff is
Right.
recession proof. Recession proof, I'm telling you.
Oh man.
Okay.
Well, listen, we have an awesome show lined up for everybody watching. We brought you on here for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Piss people off.
Dude, I was waiting all week long for this, and I'm ready to stir the pot. I'm ready to piss some people off. I'm ready to have some conversation. Yeah, let's get it going, because you know, it's due time that we kind of put some things in place and just have fun with it. It's Friday night, Cinco de Mayo. We're all enjoying our cocktails.
I'm 2 drinks in already, guys, so it's gonna get spicy tonight.
So, Josh, why don't you go ahead and get us started off with some questions, man? Before
Yeah. So what I actually want to start off with is just to talk a little bit about some of the hobby terms that are floating out there.
Okay.
And one of those terms would be hate keeping, or as that's how I like to refer to as hate keeping.
Did you coin this term, or somebody else made it? Because I love it.
Hey,
I just heard about this like a week ago. I
was talking to you about it, and you're like, "Wow, that is amazing. I'm using it."
Yeah. Why did I think of that? Because I love to make up my own words too. Why did I think of that? It's perfect.
It's all good. You were the second. Okay, so I just wanted to explain what a little bit about gatekeeping is, right? Some people may not know what gatekeeping is. So gatekeeping is the activity of controlling and usually limiting general access to something, discrediting suggestions, or illusionary actions to prevent others from achieving something or even feeling a sense of belonging. Gatekeeping creates a hostile and exclusive environment. Now, is there good gatekeeping out there, Dan?
I would say so. I actually made a video about this like a year and a half ago, where I mentioned that we as a hobby, we have to, one of my original taglines, if you watch my early content, is I tried to be very educational before I kind of let loose, before I let my hair down, right? I tried to be very educational with my content. And one of the my mission statements was that we as a hobby need to have a very high standard of conduct and conduct ourselves with a level of civility, which makes it inclusive to a lot of people. And by doing so, if we have a high level of conduct, meaning that we help each other out, we're not rude, we're not very selfish, then we basically set that level, that high standard that prevents a lot of people, bad actors, as I call them, to come into the hobby. Okay. And that was why that's where I originally talked about gatekeeping. Not that we should keep anybody that wants to be involved in a hobby, that can contribute, and that would be a great member of the community, but basically keep out the scammers. That's what I was talking about. Keep out the people that would try to take advantage of other people. Keep out people that were, setting bad examples for kids or anything like that. So I think in that regard, gatekeeping, if we talk about it in a positive light, yes, it can be positive. I think what you're talking about is, if my interpretation, correct me if I'm wrong, is basically people that are trying to exclude people from coming into the hobby. Maybe people that they feel don't belong in certain communities. Marvel, if we're talking within that context, certain people shouldn't be collecting Marvel cards. Certain people shouldn't be, making content and other people following them and things like that. That type of gatekeeping, where you try to kind of keep the community small, maybe for yourself, because you don't want to compete against other people for certain cards. Maybe you don't want the demand to raise prices on cards and price people out, things like that. I don't agree with that type of gatekeeping, where it's trying to be too exclusive. So I think that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, and it's not healthy if you were to compare it to growing the hobby, right? So if you want to grow something, you don't exclude people, you invite them in, correct?
Right.
And that's really about what I wanted to get into is some of the gatekeepers even troll. And I wanted to explain what trolling was. So in the social media aspect, well, in the non-social media aspect, what is a troll? A troll is someone that's on a bridge that is preventing you to cross the bridge, or if you try to cross the bridge, they try to do something to you to deceive you or to actually make you blow up the bridge, and it affects you and all that stuff, right? That's what a troll kind of does, is try to get in there. In social media trolling is when someone posts or comments online to bait people, which means deliberately provoking an argument or emotional reaction. In some cases, they say they don't even believe, just to cause drama. Now, you could say that everybody in their life maybe puts out a post that you want to draw some people in, and it's a little negative, but at the same time, what you're trying to do is start a conversation and try to show people what that person's going to do. Because really what happens is those person that turn the cheek, those are the great people. Now, those that actually do something and then they actually keep on doing videos to bash somebody, that's not what that's not right. It's really not. Now, what I wanted to do an example of too with gatekeeping is when you kick someone out of a group or I guess, chat room or some sort of content creation, you kick someone out because they don't conform to what you want or like to fit your standards. And that's another form of gatekeeping, is keeping those people, like you said, the small group of people. And that's where this Illuminati comes from, right? So if someone doesn't know what an Illuminati is, it's a secret society that also, well, let's just talk about that a little bit. Central to some of the more widely known and elaborate conspiracy theories, the Illuminati are depicted as lurking in the shadows and pulling the strings and levers of power. This view of the Illuminati has found its way into popular culture, appearing in dozens of novels, films, television shows, comics, video games, music videos, and trading cards. Now, at the same time, you could say that Dan, the great curator, is some sort of Illuminati.
Dan, are you a part of the Illuminati?
I can neither confirm nor deny that claim.
If anybody can read right now, I guess there's a title that he put on. What does this say here?
Oh, crap. That's still there? Oh, I forgot.
The chairman of the new Marvel Illuminati.
So, let me just comment on this really quick. This whole thing is so hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So just a little bit of background for people who don't know me, who only know me through watching videos of other people talking about me who also don't know me. Okay. So when I got back into the hobby game and started making content about it, I came from the sports card world. That's where I jumped back into the hobby. I've always collected all this stuff, but in terms of going to shows, setting up at shows and making content, if you watch any of my earliest content, it's about sports cards because that's really what was popular back then. And while I was knee deep into sports cards, collecting basketball cards, baseball cards, things like that. And there was a gentleman who may be the real chairman of the Illuminati. His name's Justin. Okay. But back then he went by Spidey Jew. Now he's Spidey Hits. Reached out to me and asked me to be on his Marvel channel because he saw that I had some like Marvel stuff, but I didn't talk about it a lot. So we had a great conversation. And he reintroduced me to Marvel cards. Because at that time, the only Marvel cards I knew were the stuff from the 90s that everybody collected. But he reintroduced me to the new stuff, particularly PMGs, which is where I got my logo here that you can see there. And he got me into it. And through him and through his knowledge and guidance, I learned about it, and I slowly started to get more into collecting Marvel, and I started to shift away from sports cards into Marvel, which to me is a more better fit because I'm really a nerd at heart. And I got into it, and then at that time, Marvel was having a moment where people were collecting the cards and the prices were skyrocketing and things like that. And for some reason, initially I got all the credit for it, but then I also got all the negative backlash for it, for people that were upset that Marvel PMGs particularly were going up in price, that sports card guys were getting into it and all this stuff. And at that time, I was thinking to myself, what's going on here? Because like I had a modest collection of PMGs. You see it in this little corner here. That's my collection compared to the real dudes in the hobby who had the lion's share of PMGs. I was not in control of that at all. But for someone created a narrative. Somehow this narrative got created where I was like the chairman of this movement, and I just thought it was hilarious. I was to be honest, I was soaking up the attention. Okay, but I thought it was hilarious at first, and then it just stuck for some reason. Now people think like I'm the Marvel guy, when in your guys' circle, I'm like on the outskirts. You know what I mean? I'm more of a fan than anything, but you guys really know who the real players are. You know who has the real big collections, who controls the real cards, and there's probably a lot of other things that go on within the Marvel community that I'm not even privy to. But
and I'd like to add just a bit to that, as far as when Justin invited you on and everything like that. I do want to say that Justin is not part of the Illuminati that is so-called hidden somewhere. He tries to stay away from that, all the groups now. He started his own Discord, and he actually, if you were to do the opposite of gatekeeping, the opposite of gatekeeping is called stewardship. Stewardship is being entrusted with what's in your care and creating an environment where people can grow and improve while enhancing their sense of well-being. I'd like to say that you're part of this too, Dan. Here's what stewardship can look like or sound like. Using inclusive leadership practices, empathy and compassion, rather than hard and fast rules, listening with an intent to understand rather than respond, giving people the benefit of the doubt, and asking what else might be true rather than jumping to conclusions. So those who last time we had Dan on for the Marvel Roundtable jumped to conclusions because you don't know Dan, you don't understand Dan, you haven't had really intimate conversations with Dan like myself, and have created a friendship to the point where I've met him a couple times in person at shows, right, Dan?
Yeah.
And it's just to say that there are some that are out there to deceive and to lie and cheat and steal and all that stuff. I mean, everybody in the world is a human being. We are not perfect. Nobody's perfect. People make mistakes. I'm sure there are things that I've done in earlier content creation that I made mistakes on. I'm sure there are things that Dan made mistakes on, but we learn and grow. He's like, no, not at all. Do you want to add anything to that there, Sam?
Yeah. So on a side note, I want to do a little side thing with how I met Dan. So I met Dan back in December of 2021.
The Mint, right?
It was the Mint was after. I think the Mint came in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. And I met you on a Whatnot stream. And you were putting out a bunch of 2021 Star Wars Galaxy Chrome cards. They had come out maybe a couple of months before you did that Whatnot show. Mm-hmm. Nobody knew about them. It was when F1 was like just popping off the charts. And I pop on this guy's stream, and he starts putting up these Star Wars cards like randomly. And I'm like, Holy crap, dude. Look how awesome these cards look. So anyways, long story short, I ended up buying every single one of the ones that he put on screen. I ended up grading all those, and they all came back 10s. You told me about those. Yeah,
I gave him away.
And when I met Dan, just to get to the point here, Dan had, I think he was just approached 1,000 followers on IG. So he was just starting out, just like everybody else does. And now Dan, with all the great content he's put out, he's amassed a good following, and he's got over 15,000 followers on IG, which is a great feat, man.
So awesome.
So I just wanted to put that little tidbit out there that for all the haters out there, for all the trolls out there, stop messing with my friend, or I'm going to come after you.
I like it.
Right, and I want to show you this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I bought this from you.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Like a couple years ago, and I still have it.
That was at the Mint
collection.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that was at the Mint when I saw you in Merle.
Yes,
that is way awesome.
Yeah.
Now, so I wanted to add just something to the Marvel boom. Those who blame Dan for doing stuff and all that stuff, there's going to be people out there doing that. Now, why some people blame Justin or Spidey, he was part of it. Why they look at that. Spidey had actually a live that he did that was going over a sale that was done on Golden Auctions of a green Spider-Man 2013 PMG that sold for about $32,000, and then after buyer's premium it was closer to $34,000, right? Now that card that sold for $34,000, green out of 10 Spider-Man 2013 PMG, it was the very first Marvel card that sold for over that much money. Okay, that was the highest grossed card at that time. And then at that same Golden Auctions, there was a gold 101 that sold for like 20 grand. And then there was another couple Spider-Man PMGs that sold as well, and a sketch card and everything like that. And that started some big sales that happened with Marvel, and Marvel just took off after that video was done with Spidey, Norrin, a few other guys. I myself was in some of those conversations, and we were just excited. That's what we were doing. We weren't trying to pump it. We were excited that Marvel was finally getting attention after 30 or 40 years. And it just so happened that Dan, the great curator, listened to some of what Justin said, and he made some money with Marvel. And that's what a lot of us did, is just that happened. And that happens to any collectible, right? Any collectible that's out there. And what's really comical, Dan, about this whole thing is those who say that they're not gatekeeping, those who say that they want Marvel cards to be way low. I personally know some Marvel card collectors that have said that and then turned around and have sold PMGs and big cards for lots of money. And so just to kind of say that, that flipper mentality is not part of the community and not part of collecting. It's just part of the way you collect. It really is.
Right. And
yeah, go ahead.
Those are great points. And I'd like to add, if I can here, I'm sure we'll get deeper into this conversation, but I'll just kind of give you my perspective around that time too. I was collecting sports cards, and then I started buying these Marvel PMGs, and I'm making my content about it at that time. This was like, I don't know when it was during that time, right?
Yeah.
And initially from the sports card community, I got a lot of like, that's a novelty, right? That's kind of cool, but it's really a novelty. It's kind of worthless, whatever. But I was having fun with it. And I was talking to Justin at that time, and I'll just be very clear about that. I consider Justin a very good friend of mine. We've had dinner together several times. Yep. We talk, often. I look to him for guidance on a lot of things, so I consider him a friend. So, anyways, me and Justin are talking, and I tell Justin, you know what? I'm going to go to the Dallas Card Show to set up. I usually set up there. I usually bring all sports cards. But you know what? I'm going to bring Marvel cards. I'm going to try it out and see what happens. And I did. And Justin happened to be going to that same Dallas show. So me and him, we had a great time showing off these Marvel cards. And at that time, nobody had done anything like that before. It was a sports card show. So we basically debuted all these different Marvel cards, and we got great feedback from it. We made videos about it. You guys can go back and watch the videos of me and Justin talking about it and things like that. And we were super excited, just like you said. It was in a very exciting time because we were basically getting acknowledged by other type of collectors that the stuff that we like is also cool, and they like it, and there is value to it and things like that. And that's when the Marvel was having its moment and it was starting to take off. And I distinctly remember me and Justin were so excited about it. We were sharing it. I was making more focused content about it. And it got to the point where it was like so much fun for like about a month, 2 months, 2 to 3 months period of time. It was great. And then that's when I started to notice a lot of like negativity within the Marvel community starting to reach me at that point. I don't know if it existed before or not, but at that time, there was a lot of people that were sending me messages. A lot of people were making videos about me. I don't know any of these people. They were just doing it and they were directing it at me. And I felt it really just like a buzzkill, and it killed my whole excitement about the Marvel cards and things like that, to the point where I just kind of like, I took a step back from making content about it, Not that I didn't collect it anymore, but I was just like less excited about making content because I was getting such negative backlash from people just attacking me for various reasons, which I didn't understand at the time. And honestly, I felt like the Marvel community was not inclusive at all. And it was viewing me as an outsider coming from the sports card world, and it didn't want anything to do with me. And because of that, I kind of took a step back from engaging with a lot of people in the Marvel community, yourself and other people. And I just kind of kept it to just a handful of people like Justin and just a couple other people. And then eventually my interest moved on to other things like Star Wars, wrestling, things like that. Sure. But I had never experienced anything like that before. And that was really shocking to me to see that side of the hobby. Yeah. And since then I've kind of kept a distance. I've become friends with guys like you, but that's how I felt at that time.
Yeah. Well, and now we seem like we have a really good community here on YouTube as well as Instagram. A great community that, I think has really, blown up, and Spidey actually started a Discord a little bit with what, separate from some of the Facebook groups. And it's just been really healthy conversation. He made up just a few rules. Like there wasn't like 50 rules on what not to do. And then there was like a bunch of stuff to do and all that stuff. He just had 3 simple things: keep things marvelous, love Marvel cards, and love people. That's really all he says. And that's really a good philosophy out there, is keeping things positive. I've always just said, hey, show the love in the community. It's one hobby, whether you collect sports cards, Pokemon, Marvel cards, Star Wars. I like it all too, and we all kind of go. Some of us go to shows, some of us don't, some of us haven't been to shows, but there is something great to say when you're at a show, when you're talking about something that's new that someone doesn't know about, and then you just show them and they just get all bright-eyed. Man, this is so awesome. I just don't know much about it. That's why we do this content with Marvel cards or Star Wars or comics, is to actually give education to some that don't know about it.
And for the ones that give us flack, they can kick rocks, right?
That's right. I do have 2 giveaways here. They're daily bugles, okay? Daily bugles of Scarlet Spider and Black Suit Spider-Man. Ooh. Or Iron Spider. Sorry. Iron Spider and Scarlet Spider. So basically it's just going to be a hashtag bugle for that. It's going to be an ongoing giveaway, guys, while we talk.
So Dan, I wanted to bring up this since, and for those that don't know what Dan is doing right now, and I hope it's okay for me to say this, but I've seen a couple of your videos with Golden, which is awesome. So congratulations with making that partnership.
Thank you.
But you had a video recently talking about non-sports cards like the Harry Potter autograph cards or the Lord of the Rings, and I kind of wanted you to touch a little bit on that because some of those sales is just mind blowing, right? About how these cards maybe a year ago were maybe $50 to $100, and now they're selling for thousands. Some of them, right?
Yeah. So appreciate the acknowledgement there. Yes, we are on my channel. I've got a podcast called Between Two Slabs. I host it with my good friend Mer World Cards. We do it every Tuesday, and we've been at it for like over a year now, where we're lucky enough to get some sponsorships, and one of our partners is Golden Auction. So every week we do a separate video. It's called the Golden Hour, where we highlight pop culture items in their auctions, so non-sports items, and they definitely they're making a push to be more inclusive towards accepting like non-sports items in their auctions. So we basically positioned ourselves where we can talk about that through our channel. But this is kind of going back to what I was talking about with my excitement for Marvel. So initially, Marvel was my first bridge into non-sports, my first category that I went into, and I had so much fun doing that. But because of the backlash I was getting from the Marvel community, I kind of pivoted and I started to go into some of my other interests, which are like Star Wars, wrestling, and just any type of pop culture stuff in general. Yeah. And back then people just called it non-sports cards. Okay. But I kind of like pushed to call it pop culture cards. That's what it really is. It's, I don't know why, like, people just think cards means sports cards, but cards can be anything really. And so I kind of took that enthusiasm and put it towards other categories like Star Wars and wrestling and Disney and things like that. And I've kind of made it my mission to give exposure to these different categories and markets and show people that it's okay to collect non-sports cards, and it's okay to look at cards as pop culture cards. And that's one of the reasons why we have this partnership with Golden now, where we get to specifically highlight these items. And it's not specific to just cards. It's comic books, it's toys, it's just oddball items related to pop culture. And that's kind of like where I found my role now, my niche for my content is like, I'm the pop culture content creator guy now within the card hobby. So that's kind of what we do. And I often think to myself, I was like, man, I really wish that I didn't run into that wall with Marvel, because I felt like we had great momentum. And if I didn't hit that wall, maybe, who knows where we could have gone with Marvel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just in terms of just like pricing and value of the cards, but in terms of just getting recognition and exposure for that community, you know what I mean? Before, nobody even knew like most of these cards existed, and still to this day, like a lot of people, when they think of Marvel, they just think of PMGs, right? Yeah. But you've been on the record, Josh, saying many times that there are all sorts of great cards out there, limited edition, low number, valuable, beautiful cards people don't know about. And the reason they don't know about it is because there's not enough exposure. There's not enough content creators talking about it that have that reach. And I think a reason for that is because it's been it's been like a well-kept
gatekeeperish.
Yes, well, very, very much gatekeeper.
And that's why we like shout out to True Blue Collectibles, Alonzo Collectibles. Big shout out to Spidey Hits, Derper Doo, Jin from Lootbox TV. We've just had some Marvel Roundtable things going on where we actually created a show every Wednesday night. And we actually filter, there's 5 of us that have YouTube channels. Oh, Melfi Collectibles is the 6th member of the Marvel Roundtable. And we actually rotate our YouTube channels every week. We are part of the Marvel Unbound as well, if those are familiar with Marvel Unbound. And we rotate our channels every week just as content creators. And we have a really good time and we invite collectors on. What we're trying to do in the content realm in YouTube is bring a culture that allows anybody that wants to collect Marvel to come in and talk about Marvel cards. If there's something, a new set that's out, that's hot, that you don't know about, that's what we want to talk about. That's what we want. We want all of those Illuminati secrets to really be out there for you. And that's why we do content, is to educate people about that and bring you back, Dan, to Marvel, because there's some great stuff. And that's why the community, there's been a lot of new people coming in, and not just to that, but to Star Wars and the comics, from comics to cards, to comics, just all around. And I'm way into autograph cards. I have a whole set of X-Men 1 and X-Men 2 autographs, full sets, that I'm going to be grading and all that stuff, and just have a whole collection of them. It's great. There's a lot of things that people just don't know about that I continue to try to just show people on my channel about Marvel. So
yeah, I mean, I want to add something to that. I always play devil's advocate. Josh knows me. And one of the biggest turnoffs for me was coming back from sports cards over to Marvel cards, especially what Dan was touching on, was that negative factor. Were those people out there that supposedly thought it was their right to call people out or to badger somebody for doing it this way? And we were all just trying to have fun, right? So I believe that all these content creators should get on their channels and call these people out every chance you can and shame them, because they're shaming us in a way that is harmful for the hobby, right? If we want to grow this thing, then we have to also fight back and not be afraid to fight back. I mean,
and there are some great people that I know of. There's some great people that are in the considered the OG of collecting, old school collecting of Marvel cards, that I have friendships with, that I totally respect. But there are some that just don't share the opinion of allowing other collectors that come from sports to come in and ask questions and all that stuff. I mean, they're like, "Oh, do your own research." But that's what as a community we're trying to help each other with, is teach people about that. And I have multiple, probably in the last month, I have like 4 or 5, 6 people. Shout out to Marvelous Cards, shout out to Interglobal Collectibles, shout out to 87. They've been great, like, friends, in like sending me links on Marvel, and I do the same thing. And shout out to Miles, which is he's a big Namor collector. There's a lot of great people out there that help each other, and that's really what it's all about. And I think that's what Dan was so intrigued with Justin, is he was bringing him into it. Hey, you need to get into this, and he was excited. And then once he got into it a little bit, not everybody was like Justin. Not everybody was like as open as some of us content creators. And that's kind of what we want to do, is bring that back, in the fact that there's a lot of us out here that all we want to do is grow this hobby and allow newcomers to come in.
And if I could speak to that point too, guys. I mean, I'm so glad. I thought we were just going to talk shit tonight, but this conversation is so much better. It's deep, and it's very therapeutic for me also, because I'm finally getting all this stuff off my chest. Okay, yes. I'm of the mindset, just like you guys. I think growth is great. Before, I don't know if you guys had this, right? But I'm 40 years old. And I've been a collector all my life. I go to Target, I buy action figures, and I buy all the exclusives at Comic-Con and things like that for many years. But as I was getting older and I was like starting a family, getting married and having kids and stuff like that, I felt like I had to be like an adult and be responsible with my money and things like that. Because honestly, every time I buy something, like I buy this like, figure right here, Sentinel figure, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's a waste of money. I spend, $25, $30 on this. Okay, it's worthless, right? I just put it on my bookshelf or whatever. And I felt like I needed to grow up, and not collect these things that brought me so much joy from that. But a strange thing happened a couple years ago where suddenly collectibles started to hold value and they started to appreciate in value. And I remember when I got back into it, starting to look at like prices on eBay of things that I thought were worthless. Honestly, I thought like cards, worthless, all this stuff. And I'm learning about it. I'm like, oh my God, things have changed. This is not like kid stuff anymore where you're wasting your money on this stuff. This stuff is actually worth money. It's being traded. Yeah. You can sell it. You can make money doing this. And that's what got me back into collecting, is where I could feel like I could justify my expenses. I could buy some cool stuff. I could hold on to it, enjoy it. Then I could sell it. I could buy stuff, flip it, make money, and then go buy things that I really want, things like that. And to me, buying, selling, trading is part of collecting. Everybody does it, right? Maybe not everybody talks about it, but everybody does it.
Fun the hobby with the hobby.
Yes.
You have to.
Yeah. So that's that's one of the best parts of our hobby, is that the things that we buy actually sometimes they hold value. So I think
what is it in your intro? Your intro says something about breaking even.
Breaking even. That's what we try to do. Let's be honest, guys. Most of the time we're just breaking even. We're lucky to break even.
That's right.
That's better than just throwing money down the
correct.
You know what I mean? In order to sustain that environment that we have right now, this dynamic of being able to buy things, sell it, have things that appreciate value, we need growth in our hobby. And it's not just Marvel cards, it's not just sports cards, it's just like collectibles in general. We need growth. And the only way that we get growth is we have new people to come in, new people learn, spend money, and grow the community. And one of the reasons I'm always pushing back on these people that are trying to like be so exclusive with who comes into the community is like, it's, we can't have a bunch of just like old dudes collecting and then we eventually die out, right? We need young blood in there. We need people from different markets, sports card collectors that come in here, or memorabilia collectors, or comic book collectors, or toy collectors. Any type of growth is good, and it fuels demand for the things that we value so much, which protects the value of it. So I'm always about growth. And that's one of the reasons why I absolutely despise these troll people. I call them like troll trash content creators, where they just want to talk bad about people. They want to tear good people down. They want to attack other people that they've never met, that they don't know about. They want to control and create false narratives and what I call creating false grievances in people's heads. A lot of the negativity that I got from people were people I never met before, that never interacted with me, that don't follow me. They just would like leave me nasty comments based off of videos that they watch other people do. And I know what's going on. At that time, I took it very personally because I didn't understand the dynamic of all this stuff. At that time, I took it very personally, like anybody would. If somebody calls you, if somebody curses you out or calls you or wishes harm on you, you're going to take it personally. I know I've had conversations with you, Josh.
Yes.
About this, right?
Yeah.
Now I kind of see it differently. Now I've kind of like grown a thick skin. I've got like this protective shell around me where that stuff doesn't bother me as much. But back then it did a lot. And I think that's a big problem with the hobby in general, and especially in small communities where there are people that make this type of content with the intention of creating false narratives or creating false grievances and creating calls to action to attack other people. We see it all the time. And, now I try not to engage with them as much because I just don't want to waste my time. But I do push back from time to time against those people. And I think a good perspective that helped me on this, and maybe you guys can tell me how you guys deal with it, is that I learned just like a lot of this stuff doesn't matter. I like Josh, you have a large family. I have a family too. My family is my most important thing to me. Alex, you're a business owner. You've got a business. I've got a business. I got real
and a family. He's got a family too.
And a family too. So we have real responsibilities. You know what I mean? So it's like we don't have time to be fighting with people that we don't know on the internet about collecting cards or things like that. We got real responsibility. So once I learned that perspective, it kind of like allowed me to kind of weather some of these storms that I've gone through. But at the same time, I think that's a problem that needs to be addressed. And I like your idea of having content creators that have platforms, that have followings, no matter how big, to kind of speak out on that. Because for a long time, these people, they operated with impunity. You know, they could make a video, they could say anything they want, and they get away with it. And that's what it is. But I think it's time for us to really kind of call that behavior out, because I see it for what it is. I see those guys as content creators also, trying to create salacious content to drive views and eyeballs to their channel because they're monetized and that's what they do. And reaction videos are the easiest way to make content. It's hard to make creative content to entertain people, but it's very easy to make content to piss people off by just commenting.
Oh, that's the easiest way to do it. One real quick thing here I was about to say, and Marshall beat me to it, is I don't even think it's that. I think it's so-called negative gatekeepers are just pissed off.
The hate keepers. Don't forget it.
Hashtag hate keepers. Let's make that trend tonight, guys. Hashtag hate keepers.
Because they can't get their cards for cheap anymore, and it's that simple. And that's so true. It's so true. I truly believe that those so-called hate keepers out there that can't get their cards anymore for $1 or $2 or $3 like they did back 10 years ago, wherever, before the boom happened, they're all pissed off now because they actually have to work a little bit to get those grail cards that they want now. And that's part of the fun of collecting is figuring out how to get those grail cards. And now you just have to be more creative about how you do them.
So let me go off of what you said a little bit about content creating, right? And there would be more of us out here if it wasn't for the bad actors out there and those that do negative. So I want to shout out to a friend of mine. His name is Melfi Collectibles, right? He actually was one of those lurkers of just collecting, lurked in the shadows, just kind of stayed in the shadows. He would sometimes say, hey, great content type of thing, but he wouldn't go. He wasn't one that he was like, I don't know if I'd ever do an online thing or content of any kind, right? Well, I actually invited him to like open some new product, and he actually came on very nervous, opened the product, and after that one time of doing it, and I told him, hey, I'm not here to judge. None of us are here to judge at all. If you want to come on and you're uncomfortable on camera or whatever, it doesn't matter. But if you don't want to get that negative aspect of those people saying something about you, because that's really where it comes down to it, right? Is some people just don't want to create content because they don't want to be called out and they don't want to be looked at as something, oh, well, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about type of thing. And so they just kind of lurk in the shadows. Well, he was like that. He came on, and now check this. He's part of the Marvel round table. I even invited him and a few others on tonight to come on right about now, if they want to jump on and everything like that, to contribute to our discussion, because they see it the same way. They see it as some of those guys that make that diss on other people's content are only doing it, like you said, to get attention, but also somewhat try to gatekeep on their side of things. It's just not right.
I think you hit on a topic too that maybe this would be a great segue into it too, but like there's just too much judginess. I know that's not a real word, but there's just
judginess. You just said judginess?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the hobby,
make that word up tonight.
Where people have opinions about how other people collect or how other people do things with whatever with their cards or things like that. People price bash other people for no apparent reason. People make fun of the cards people buy or the cards people sell. And there's just too much judginess in the hobby, And I think we got to kind of like realize, we got to worry about our own stuff, our own collections, the people that we actually care about, and stop trying to judge people that we either don't care for, don't know, don't follow, don't watch, don't collect, any of that stuff, and just kind of get away from all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Actually, to touch on a point real quick, because I love the way that you comp items. And I think it's a good topic to bring up because a lot of people out there trying to comp items or think they know how to comp items really don't know how to comp items when they're going to make a decision on a buy, right? So explain to everybody how you comp an item and what kind of details go into how you feel to how to put a value on something.
Sure. Okay. So when I first got back into the hobby, I didn't understand how people price things at all. I was checked like people like would check eBay and they see what the last item sold for and they try to get it for less than that. And I was like, okay, it didn't really make sense to me. So but I played the game just like everybody else. I did what everybody's doing. And over the last couple years, I kind of developed my own strategy. I realized that there is no industry standard for how you comp cards, how you value cards. Everything's up to negotiations. Mm-hmm. Everything's different because people have different price points, different cost basis on how, what they have into the card. So it's different, right? Yeah. And things are changing so much. It's like there's got to be a better way to do it. So I made a video about this, but the way that I kind of use comps to value my cards is I look at the previous sales within a month, maybe the most recent sales, because the market changes month to month. So I look at the most recent sales, and then I also compare those sales to what is currently available online. Yep. Because to me, it just doesn't make sense that if a card sells and that card is not available anywhere else,
yes,
that somebody would try to get that card for less than what it sold for. If I'm assuming that we use that comp, assume that I'm the buyer of that card. You want me to sell that card for 10, 20% less than what I paid for it? It doesn't make any sense, right? Yeah. So you have to use what is currently available. And if there's a card that's currently available and you're priced higher than that, if you want to sell your card, you have to be competitive and you either have to price match or whatever, right? But if there is no card available, then you kind of name your price. But ultimately, it comes down to the negotiations and between buyer and seller. And that's really how I conduct my business with it. But a lot of people, they don't want to take into consideration what is currently available on eBay, and they just want to go off of the last sale. And honestly, I think that's what kind of got a lot of people in trouble over the last year, because they were basically just kind of like cannibalizing themselves, the values of their cards, by playing this comp game. So, but I think it's kind of leveled out a lot since then.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I do it.
I want to pick. I'm sorry.
Just real quick off of that, real quick, and then you can keep going.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of buy it now stuff, like bin stuff, or do you do auctions mainly on your eBay, or does it just depend?
The stuff that I sell on my eBay?
Yeah.
I put it at a price and I put best offer. So I want people to negotiate with me. I don't have the balls to let auctions run. I've been screwed over. I have the worst luck. I've been screwed over so many times when I do that. So
I just got balls doing that right here. This guy.
I'm not a gambler. I'm not a gambler like Alex. I put it at.
I live in Sin City. Come on.
Yeah, I put it at a price, and I have buy it now or best offer. And I usually price it higher, to be honest, because I know people are going to lowball me. But that just starts a conversation. And that's kind of like how I do things on eBay. And then at card shows, I kind of do the same thing. I price it, whatever I price it at. And then I just expect people to negotiate with me.
Yeah. So what really chaps my ass, I'm really heavy into comic books right now. And I've seen, and I know that we've been talking about a little bit of the negativity in the Marvel side, but I want to bring a little bit to light what I'm seeing in the comic side, because the comic community is a totally different ball game compared to collecting sports cards and collecting Marvel. And what I've learned in the past couple of months is a lot of these people got in very high during the boom, right, about 2 years ago, and now they're not willing to budge. Right. So they're having to sell their books or keep them at high prices. And then on the flip side, a lot of the buyers now are trying to get under last sold comped. But a lot of people don't realize that number that you see that it sold for doesn't include fees, doesn't include shipping.
Yeah.
So a lot of those things have to be factored in when you're making decisions on what to offer a seller or on a flip side, the buyer. when you're throwing out offers, not to throw out these crazy low ball prices, right? I mean,
you kind of talked about that on your last thing, Dan, as far as pricing things and making sure you're making some money off of something and not. It's like you gotta factor in those eBay fees. You gotta factor in what you got it for and all that stuff. Don't burn yourself, sometimes. I mean, obviously a lot of us will take losses, right? Because the market can change, drop of the dime sometimes on things. So
there's a lot of different dynamics that factor into, a transaction, like you said, but I think that what leads to this confusion is that, since 2019 to, like, I would say even now, the definition of success in the hobby, whether it's cards, comics, toys, or whatever, is how much money you can make, right? And how much money you can make is really based off of flipping. So that's why these people, they try to undercut, and try to get good deals, because they're going to turn around and make profit based off of that margin. In cards, especially sports cards, people try to buy it like 70% because they're going to turn around and flip it for 90 or 100% or whatever it is. So I think that we kind of need to kind of get away from that definition of success in the hobby, because really, traditionally, if you look at it, we're supposed to buy these things and let them appreciate, hold them for a period of time. And then when there's high demand for it, that's when you cash out. But I think that we're kind of still stuck in that flipper mentality, which is why I try to focus a lot of my content on collecting.
Pre-pandemic.
Yeah, I don't. People accuse me of saying, "Oh, he gives bad advice and this and that." But if you look at my content, I mean, it's pretty obvious the ongoing theme that I have, where I just show off things that I collect. And I'm trying to really get people to understand that you buy these things, you hold it, and you just wait for the right opportunity, and then you flip it. And then, everything else will take care of itself.
Yeah, and if I look at charts and graphs every day on comic books, and the best scenario that people can do out there, if you're doing cards or comics or whatever, is try to find data that shows you what that particular item was selling for back in 2019, before it got crazy, right? And look at where it's at today, and it'll show you that 90% of the things out there have an upward trend. If you exclude the craziness that happened those few years, right?
Correct.
It's still on an upward trend. So the market is still good for every collectible out there. It's a great time to jump in now if you have the expendable cash, because it's a buyer's market. Before it shoots up again, because it's already started to climb a little bit with comic books in the Silver Age, particularly, that people are starting to pump more money into that era.
You know what's hilarious there, Dan, is you said something about like a long-term investment. Like, what's funny is a lot of Marvel card collectors, they're in it for the long term. A lot of them are. That's why you see a lot of Marvel card collectors, they get all this stuff, but they don't sell anything. Justin barely sells anything, because a lot of things, especially with me, I have a lot of things that I'm sitting on that I'm just waiting on for the opportune time or the right time. Timing is key, like you said, when you're selling sometimes. And so when some people buy cards online raw, they go ahead and grade them, and then they just put them up just to sell them. You got to understand that some of these cards, and a lot of Marvel card collectors will agree with you, a lot of these are long-term. If you're wanting to collect, a specific character like Wolverine, for instance, I collect Wolverine cards. It's really hard for me to buy Wolverine cards that are numbered, right? They're high priced and all that. So I have to sell other cards, sell other parts of my collection to get more of those cards, right? And so it's a long-term hold. You on your some of your IG videos you just did on the Marvel cards, you were showing your new displays and all that, and you're like, hey, all these are for sale, but the ladies aren't. But those that are for sale, you have specific prices that are in mind. Yeah. If someone tries to lowball you on some of those PMGs, you're like, no, that's not going to happen, But if someone buys it for a specific right price, you're going to let it go. And that's what the thing is it's all about timing or investment. And you see a value in your head sometimes with some of these cards.
Right.
A lot of us do.
Real quick, I want to bring up this comment here from Armando. So Armando tried Golden and eBay. He says he'll never sell again. I'm going to give you a little tip here real quick, a little secret for everybody to know. Hardly anybody is selling cards on Instagram. Okay? And Instagram, you can get away with fees. So little tidbit there. The comic community lives and breathes on Instagram sales and YouTube sales. When you do YouTube lives, that's where a lot of comic book collectors have gravitated towards, as opposed to your eBays, your Goldens, your Heritages that charge you all those fees, and the whatnots as well. Try Instagram. I think we should try and get a mass following of card collectors out there that really want to, sell their cards, to do an Instagram page of Marvel cards live selling, right? Because a lot of people in the comic community, that's where they go. That's what I do. That's what has allowed me to exclude some of those fees and get bigger books, because I'm not having to get screwed on fees, 13, 14% of what you make. It's kind of crazy and ridiculous. But anyways.
Yeah. And I'll add to that too, for people that are like worried about selling their cards and taking a loss and things like that. My strategy is this, and maybe you guys have a similar strategy. I don't know. I'd love to hear it, but I just buy things that I like. I put them up here, and I enjoy it for a period of time until I lose interest in it, and then I move on to the next thing. A big part of what drives me in the hobby is I love the thrill of the hunt, chasing things down, finding cool stuff, getting good deals. I love doing deals and interacting with people. That's, to me, where I get a lot of the reward. And then once I buy something and I add it to the collection, I just put it on my shelf and it just sits there, and I'll admire it from time to time. But if somebody wants to pay me my price for it, and I can make a profit, and I can move that into something else, and I can continue to get that high of chasing cool stuff, that's how I operate within the hobby. And one thing that I learned to do to kind of protect my own investments in all these things here is I just buy rare stuff. I buy rare stuff that not a lot of people have, and I just have my own price on it, and I just wait around until I can find the right buyer for it. And that's how I conduct my business. I don't buy things and then immediately throw them up on eBay at auction and then, hopefully wish for the best or anything like that. And I've learned that through that strategy, I can kind of control what happens with my stuff and the prices I get and things like that. And it's just more enjoyable.
Yeah. What's up, Swish Rips? How's it going? I actually haven't been paying attention to some of these people that are in here. Old Timer Gaming, Michael Clark, Vintage Lord Canada. What's up? We got Mark in the house. I got 87 in the house. We got Marvel Marshall.
How many people do we have in here?
Brittany in the house. We got 24.
24? Yeah, 24 now.
24 now. We got Kellen, my nephew, is in the house. We're still doing, just to let everybody know, I'm going to probably do this giveaway here soon. We're still doing these daily bugles out of 2020 Marvel Metal. The Spider-Man Metal. Sorry, Spider-Man Metal daily bugles. Got the Iron Spider and we got the Scarlet Spider. And those are up for grabs on giveaway, guys. Just hashtag bugle for those giveaways. And I'm going to be sending those both out to the winner. Hashtag bugle. So
Dan, how long have you been collecting, man? And that collection that I see behind you is eye-catching, to say the least.
I joke with people. I say I've been collecting since I've been in the womb, guys. But my whole life, I've been a collector. Of mainly toys. I got to say, toys are my first love. I could show you, I catalog all my G.I. Joes growing up. I have them in a box in my basement. I could show you all that stuff. But I've been collecting ever since I was a kid. I've gone in and out of collecting as we grow up. We go to college, we get a job, we date and get married, have kids, all that stuff. So I've been in and out, but full time, I would say back since 2020, full time. And now I'm fortunate enough to make a little side business of this. Like I was saying before collecting was just like basically like throwing money away. But now you can turn it into like a little side business where it makes it somewhat sustainable to continue collecting. So that's where I am in my collector's journey right now.
Nice.
Appreciate that, VP Trading Cards. He's got a great Instagram, great following, great Marvel cards on his collection. I like what you said earlier, Sin. Those who have Facebook groups and all, or Facebook profiles, those who have personal profiles, you should really, if you're in collecting space, you should really create a collector page, because that's where a lot of people just enjoy showing their collections. I know Dan has a really, really great time doing reels, just funny reels on stuff. It's great stuff. I mean, in the morning you come in, he'd be like, "Oh, this is me in the morning having breakfast." It's just hilarious. It's awesome.
The best one is the Dos Equis commercial. I love that one. That was one of the best ones.
I am the hardest working man in the hobby, as I like to call it.
Like, I'm the only one there was one a while back. It was so awesome. I shared it 3 times. I actually created my own, and it was like those 2 guys that do the videos. I can't remember what their names are, but it's so hilarious. And it was about a troll, and the guy looked like a troll, and it just looked so hilarious, man.
There was a point where I was pushing back hard on the trolls, and I was having fun with it. It's very tongue-in-cheek stuff, but at one point I remember I was sitting on my couch, and I was like, this is like 3 hours into making all these troll content things. And I was like, what am I doing? Why am I wasting my time fighting with these guys? So I kind of stopped. So I try to reserve myself to not do that. But sometimes I'd like to take a jab at these guys just for fun.
It was fun, entertaining. And I think with that reel, you got quite a bit of good looks from that. It was so hilarious. So awesome.
I wanted to bring up this, Dan. I've noticed lately that you've grown your collection of action figures that are graded. And I've also seen a huge uptick in graded video games.
Vintage Lord actually asked if you have any graded VHS.
There you go. See, so a question came up there. Oh man, look how awesome that is.
Look at
that. That is
better in acrylic, guys. Can we all at least agree to that? Wow. Acrylic just makes everything look more premium.
That is awesome.
So is that an original Michelangelo?
Yes, 1988 Playmates. Michelangelo, unpunched.
Unpunched.
Yes, look at that. Beautiful.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So I've noticed that. What have you seen in that? Because I want to dive in a little bit. I want to dabble into a little bit. What have you seen in that collectible space? Kind of a little bit of advice that you can kind of give me when it comes to looking for these type of figures and graded compared to not graded. Like, how do you see it?
Okay, so I told you guys, my first love is toys. I've been collecting toys ever since I was a kid, and but then I transitioned into cards, and through cards I learned about investment graded collectibles, where you take a raw card, you slap it in acrylic, you put a grade on it, and suddenly it has a premium on top of that. So that's kind of when I learned the concepts, the principles about graded collectibles.
And then when was that when that happened, Dan? Just so
2020 is when I got back.
Okay, great.
Just like a lot of people, I learned about all that stuff through cards. And then through cards, I noticed that they had the same concept for comics. They had graded comics, right? Same principle. Slab it, attach a grade by a reputable company, suddenly it gets a premium. And then I started looking at other things that were doing this, like video games were starting to pick up, VHS tapes. Now people are grading records, vinyl records, and all these other things. So the concept applies to every collectible market, I believe. It doesn't matter what the collectible is. It could be, photographs, it could be movie posters, or in this case, toys. And I look at where the toy market is compared to where the cards are. I would say the cards right now are probably at their peak of popularity in terms of grading, and that whole system that they've created. Comics are probably up there too. Video games probably on their way up there. But when I look at toys, it's still in its very early stages where there's not a lot of competition from grading companies. There's not a lot of graded toys that are readily available. People still collect ungraded toys or loose toys and things like that. So to me, it was just a natural progression to move my interest from the card hobby into the toy hobby, where I love it more and I apply those same principles. And that's why I've been trying to like pick up graded pieces now and try to find pieces that are gradable so that I could submit them myself and things like that.
But you know what's way cool too at the same time that you do though?
What's that?
You actually have a passion for these toys, because I see every once in a while you're just like, I need to free it, and you just open it.
Yes. So to speak to that point, the concepts are the same, Alex. You buy rarity, you buy condition, and you buy things that have strong demand. So like with toys, there's toys for everything, right? But I stick to the stuff that I love. G.I. Joe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, Star Wars. That's kind of like my area. So I just look for the most popular ones. I look for the best conditioned ones, or I buy the highest graded ones. And then that's just kind of been my strategy so far.
So do you have many of those graded ones yet? Or
oh yeah.
I've got a small collection. I'm amassing more, but here's the thing about toys and every other collectible except for cards. You get the storage problem, right? You don't have enough real estate to display all the stuff. They end up in boxes and things like that. That's why cards are really the most efficient collectibles, if you ask me.
Exactly.
Just because of the amount of room that they take up. But I'm slowly building a collection of it. The thing about a lot of these things, they don't come up for auction that much, and I don't want to overpay for them based on buy it now prices and things like that. So just whenever I keep track of it, and whenever I see one, I try to be competitive and bid on it. But I have noticed that the market is growing. Like, a year ago, graded G.I. Joe maybe go for like $200. Now they're going consistently for $400, $500. Some of them are breaking like $1,000, $2,000.
Yeah.
Some of you even going more, depending if it's like a Snake Eyes or a Storm Shadow or something like that.
Sure.
So they are getting up there, and it's just a matter of time to me before people that have a lot of money who played with these toys, who want high grade collectibles, that they start putting their money into that. It just makes sense to me.
I mean, a lot. I'm sorry, Josh. A lot of the sales that I've seen on Heritage lately with video games is crazy. I mean, we're talking thousands. Not a single game sold on Heritage, I think, a couple weeks ago under $1,000 graded. So I mean, the market is exploding right now. That's why, I think it was just fun to bring up.
There's some people out there, Dan, that watch our content here that are Marvel card collectors and sealed box Marvel collectors. Will you show a couple of those sealed boxes that you have in that really nice custom case that you got? I just want people to know.
You never asked. I was waiting for this. Okay.
Yeah.
So here is the X-Men Series 1 Impel.
Look at that, guys.
1990, I don't know, 2 or 93, something like that.
It is 1992.
1992.
Very first X-Men series set.
And I'm going to give a plug here to my friends at Phantom Displays. They make this beautiful, I'm not even exaggerating, this is like an ice cube, guys. Beautiful acrylic display here. And they actually custom made these for me. And I told them, if you market this, Marvel people are going to buy this because they fit this box. I also have
so cool. I mean, that's so awesome. I'll probably go ahead and put in the notes here. Yeah, that is neat.
But the reason I asked them to do this, and their stuff is better than the other stuff, is that I noticed that Pokemon collectors have these acrylic things for their booster boxes. So I asked, but they don't fit Marvel stuff. So I asked them to do this, and their stuff is just so premium. It's just way better. It's hard to describe this here, but this is crystal clear acrylic. I believe it is UV resistant, smooth corners instead of the sharp corners like the Pokemon stuff. And they're held in place by strong magnets here. So they're not going to fall out or anything like that. It's actually really hard to pull off. And they're just perfect for these type of boxes. And they make them for all sorts of, they can custom make them for all those Marvel boxes.
Yeah, and you see them for pops and all that stuff too, and everything. So
yeah, so they mainly operate in the Pokemon game, but check them out. Phantom Displays. Cool. I do believe that they will make these for you if you ask for it, and I have a code called Curator that gets you a little discount.
All right, cool.
Nice.
Hey, Derpa Doo asked about vinyl records. Have you seen vinyl records be graded yourself?
Yes, there's actually a couple companies that are doing it, and I'll give you guys a little insider information here. I'm really not supposed to talk about it. This is like insider. I'm part of the collectors Illuminati, where we just talk about collectors in general. Okay, I'm also the chairman of that board. I wear a lot of hats, guys. But music is gonna be huge, guys. Like I'm not into music, but if you collect vinyl records, CDs, cassette tapes, that stuff is going to be huge. That stuff is still very much in its infancy also. But if you just, to speak to Alex's point, if you look at what happened in video games, video games used to be like garage sale finds, and now they're worth tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah. VHS tapes, which used to be like landfill stuff, like you throw away, that stuff graded is going for hundreds, if not thousands of dollars also. So music collectibles will be the same thing. And I personally know that there's going to be a huge push by certain individuals, certain companies to bring exposure to that market. And that stuff, when you get all the music collectors in, they're going to be spending a lot of money on that stuff too.
So Derpa Doo said, I used to work in the music industry, so I have a ton of promotional CDs and posters. Some of them never got taken out of the jewel case. Wonder if those can be graded. I'm sure they could be.
Yeah. Everything can be graded. There's a company called AMG. I hate to give them a plug on this, but they are one of those new upstart grading companies. You may want to check them out. I think IGS may be doing that stuff. There's a couple different companies that grade different music products, but that will definitely have its own community, have its own marketplace to emerge out of that. And don't be surprised if you start seeing that stuff on like Heritage Golden or stuff like that.
Oh yeah, sure. CGC also. I saw a picture. CGC, I think, is getting into grading video games. So
everything can be graded, guys. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a coffee mug. Everything can be graded. There's a collectible market for everything. This is something I learned when I recently took a trip to Asia a few months ago, and what I saw out there were people collecting, anime cards and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and Dragon Ball and all this stuff, and just video game cards and things like that. And what I learned is that everything is collectible. There's a market for everything out there. It's just really comes down to a community or a group of people that share a common interest or common passion for something, and then they build a little industry around that. So music is no different, and music is actually arguably bigger than a lot of stuff that we're involved in. You know what I mean? When all the music heads come into it, but everything can be collectible, and if it's collectible, it can be graded.
Well, I'd like to say something about that too, as far as how some people enter the collecting space because of nostalgia, and a lot of us are impulse collectors. Like we see something we want, we get it, right?
Influence.
I want to actually explain what the impulsive collecting is. Collecting also provides an outlet for some for our primal urges. On an instinctual level, we are driven to objects of desire. It's the reason why we fall in love. Such yearnings have been around since prehistoric times, but obviously we live very different lives to cave people. This is largely down to our longer lifespans. Biologically speaking, there shouldn't really be such a thing as middle age. Perhaps this explains the modern phenomenon of midlife crisis. It's no coincidence that many men begin collecting these things during their 40s. At this point of life, most have already settled down and start a family, but somewhere in their minds, there is still that longing for new things to covet and possess. While they may not quite understand this compulsion, collecting nonetheless helps them scratch that neurological itch.
That's very interesting. Can I give you my own condensed?
Yes, go ahead.
For this. So, everybody has to do something in their life, right? Something to bring them some type of enjoyment. Some people love to drink. Some people love to play sports. Some people smoke. Some people do all these things, right? For us, like, we're collectors. That's what we do. And for me, collecting comes down to basically getting a little, I'll use this as an example, okay? If you can't tell from my shirt
Love it.
My displays here, I love the character, the Sentinel, okay? Collecting basically comes down to having a little tiny physical representation of something that you enjoy. And for most of us, that is somewhat some type of connection to our childhood or some part of our life where we remember discovering this thing, whatever it is. It bring us a level of joy, and now we want to collect a little physical representation of it. That's why people, you know, if they have a favorite player, athlete, or something, they'll collect their cards or wear their jersey. You got a favorite movie you love, you'll get the poster or you get a toy of it. It's just a little physical representation that we can hold of this thing that we love to make us feel like we have a part of it. And that's what, to me, collecting is.
That's right. That's
awesome.
Right. That's awesome.
I think Josh, I think it's a good time for us to run that giveaway.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So #Bugle. If you're just coming in, there's 31 out there. There's only 15 signed up. So let's get going. I'm gonna probably pull it in about 2 minutes. 2 minutes. #Bugle, guys. Hey, and while Dan, the great curator, is with us tonight on this rare occasion, I'm just kidding. I'm sure he'll be on again. He's a friend of the channel. We just want to say, hey, if you have any questions for him, please ask some questions. Ask away. Be polite, as he is a collector first and possibly investor second, but we all are. That's what we do to try to collect and get what we really, really want. Let me ask you this. Do you have a Grail collectible that you want someday that you have not yet purchased because you're just not there yet?
A Grail collectible. I mean,
now I do want to say I'm jealous of something that you picked up, and it was the Optimus Prime Transformer. Oh, he's so excited he's gonna bring it. When I saw you have that, I was like, no, he's got it. I'm so jealous.
This thing, I love, you know, we joke, we laugh because it's a toy, it's Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
This thing is probably the most amazing piece of engineering that I have ever seen. I don't know, like, if they have patents on this or something like that, but this stuff,
dude,
this is the future.
Yeah.
This is the future here. You know,
It's
if we
so
can put
cool.
AI in this, we're in trouble, guys.
You can talk to it and tell it to do stuff, and it does it. It's crazy.
Just the movements in it. Like, it can do push-ups, it can play the guitar, it can do like kung fu and kicks. It's just amazing how the engineering and how it does that. It's impossible to even understand.
Yeah.
Awesome.
For me right now, I'm dabbling a little bit in original art. Original art is something that
I need to get into that.
Man, it's very expensive. Number one, but to be able to own a piece of history, a one of one of a comic, panel or cover is, to me, like, that's like my Grail kind of venture that I'm trying to get into.
Yeah, I definitely want to get in that because I've been going to Comic Cons and I've been seeing like the original art booths that are set up, and I'm just kind of like peeking around and learning a little bit of it. And the prices seem crazy.
You're not going to San Diego Comic Con. You're probably going to Nationals, probably, right?
I'm going to the National and I'm going to Comic Con.
You're going to San Diego Comic Con?
Oh yeah, I've been the last 3 years.
I'm going too.
Okay, I'll see you there.
Yeah.
I'll see you there. But I definitely want to get into artwork because I think that's a great investment also, and it just looks so cool. But it's a steep learning curve. For sure.
Oh yeah,
for me anyway.
Well,
it's a big rabbit hole that I know I haven't jumped in on the Marvel realm because there's a lot of Marvel collectors that love that original piece. That original piece that comes, and then there's a card that's made after that original piece. Those are coveted in the Marvel
And there's no way to price it, right? I mean, because it's a one of one, so it's like
my price, right? It's my price, whatever.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's tough. A lot of these OG, comic guys out there that collected all this stuff way back in the day got it for pennies on the dollar, cheaper than you could imagine, and now the price point is just skyrocketed. So
they're definitely definitely very protective about their stuff, but I like to say that generation, they're eventually going to age out, and there's going to be a new generation of collectors that will be the what's the word? The custodians, the caretakers of all these items. So, hopefully I can enter and be part of that. But to answer your question, Josh, like as far as grails go, I've got a lot of things that I want. Top of mind, I would say if we can talk about wrestling a little bit, I would say like a Hulk Hogan, a high grade 1982 Hulk Hogan. Card. That would be one of the cards that I would just really love to have.
Yeah.
Is that the yellow one?
Yes, the yellow one.
Yeah.
And then for like toys, I would say like if I can put together a high grade, complete 1982 GI Joe set of the original, I think 12 figures or something like that. That would be really cool.
Oh, that's an awesome goal.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Star Wars complete set would be pretty killer.
Oh yeah. And then for comics, I would say right now, if I could get my hands on like I don't even care what grade it is. It could be a 1, a CGC 1, but a Captain America #1.
Oh yeah.
I would love that where he's punching Hitler right across the face.
Yeah.
I would love that.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's great. All right. Hashtag Bugle, guys, for the giveaways again. This is what the giveaways are, is these 2 daily bugles from Spider-Man Metal. Shout out to Dean P from the Facebook group, because it was a giveaway that I got on the MCCW for reaching 5,000, I believe, followers. They did a big, huge, like 12-hour stream of giveaways. And these were 2 giveaways, and I'm giving back. I'm just giving back. So hashtag Bugle, guys. I'm going to pull it. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Here we go.
Swish Rips. I thought it was my boy Vintage Lord Canada who was going to win it.
Hey, Swish Rips is actually pretty good too. He's in Canada as well. So
nice. There's gonna be a nice little shipping charge for you.
Hey, I'm excited. So I told before I even had you on, I was telling Vintage Lord I was gonna have you on our show at Marvel Bros, and he was way excited because we're pretty close to each other, me and Dan and Vintage Lord Canada. So there's just too many Dans out there.
I talk to him on a regular basis,
Yeah. He's just awesome.
I've even done deals with him, and he's a great guy.
I know. Yep. Yeah. He's told me good deals too. So, but no, we're going to be doing a box break of the X-Force. Did you hear about, the Deadpool rookie card promo, or the Dead card promo comes out of the X-Force comic? There is a promo card of Deadpool, and Rob Liefeld, the creator of Deadpool, just came out, and he's doing a CGC signing on those cards, which is pretty cool, pretty big in the Marvel realm. And to have that Deadpool rookie card signed by Rob Liefeld. And we were talking a little bit about that, but we're going to open up a box that has some more Deadpool rookie cards in there. Pretty cool box.
Is that like the 90s image box?
Yeah. Yep. So pretty awesome. So.
Well, I think we've come to the end here, and I want to give many, many thanks to our buddy Dan for coming on, the great curator. Dan, why don't you let everybody know, if they don't know already? If they don't know, I don't know why they wouldn't know, but let everybody know how to find you.
Sure. Go ahead. So if you guys don't follow me, you can check me out on Instagram. That's where I do most of my content, just lighthearted stuff, fun stuff, show off collection. Yeah. On Instagram, The Great Curator. I'm also on TikTok. Check me out, The Great Curator there. And then I'm also on YouTube. I do have my podcast every Tuesday with Murder World Cards. It's called Between Two Slabs, where we just talk about the hobby stuff, things like that. We also do the golden hour episode every Monday, guys, and we do $100 giveaway for that. So enter that. You have until Sunday, 7 p.m. to enter that. All you got to do is just leave a comment in that video, and you could win $100 auction credit to use on golden auctions. So that's pretty cool. And then I just make some informational content from time to time, but mainly I just try to keep it lighthearted, joke around. And then the one thing I will say too, if I could just hijack your platform real quick, guys.
Here, buddy.
I hope that for people that kind of watch me or tonight, if you can see me, if you can interact with me, you're probably going to have a good experience. That's what I would ask that you judge me off of. Just follow my content, talk to me, meet me, then you can judge me. But don't form an opinion based on a video that somebody else made about me without actually seeing it for yourself. Don't let people plant ideas and create false grievances in your mind to feel a certain way about me or anybody else for that matter, because you have to understand that those type of people that make those trash content, and there's a long list of them that I could name, but I won't. They what they're doing is they're content creators like ourselves. They are monetized or trying to get monetized. And for them, they just basically piggyback off of other people's content by making reaction videos or making false narratives about them because they want to leverage your attention and your time so that they can benefit from that by monetizing their channel. So just understand that that's what the game is. If you find that stuff entertaining, by all means, go for it, watch it, be entertained, but don't feel compelled to answer any call to actions where you try to, try to take people down, try to hate on people or anything like that, because that's really not what the hobby's about.
Yeah, Swish Rips, he didn't even want that giveaway because he lives in Canada, so he gave it away, and then Mark won it. So appreciate it, guys.
Mark the Collector?
What's that?
Mark the Collector won it?
Mark Sack.
Oh, okay.
Gookie.
Dan, that was a great great ending there. Because you're spot on with what you're saying, man. Don't give those guys or those gals the attention. They don't deserve it, and they shouldn't be monetized for it or get gains off of saying all that crap. So,
and I want to add to that too, guys. Just sorry, I'm just going on.
No, you're good.
I'm going to
add to yours after you say something.
I mean, honestly, I have the perspective that there are way more important things in life. There are way more messed up things in the world to be upset about. The hobby is meant to be an escape for all of us to enjoy ourselves and get away from that real life stuff. So we shouldn't try to contaminate it and make it a toxic environment, because this is what brings a lot of people joy. So we should try to keep that as protected as possible.
Well, and that's the thing is like that's really that I can't say it any better than that, Dan, because I've talked to Sin about this too. He's like, one of my favorite parts of the week is the end of the week when we have a show together and we can just lay back and relax and just get the world out of our minds and just talk comics, talk cards, and just happiness of what we like to collect. And I just don't understand some people's mentality and wanting to just promote hate. I don't promote hate. I don't condone promoting hate. I will put my foot down right now. If you're promoting hate, if you're trolling of any kind, content like this, content that we try to be positive,
kick rocks.
You're just not in the right collecting sphere. And
we have to understand, guys. I don't necessarily think that those people are evil or that they believe the things that they're making. They're content creators. And an easy way for people to make content is to make reaction videos about other people, point fingers, criticize them, create false narratives. But they do it because just like every content creator does it for the same reasons. They want attention. They want opportunities. They have egos, things like that. They want to voice their own thoughts. And that's why they do it. So just have to understand that it's entertainment. It's just like watching like political TV and things like that. It's entertainment, okay? But it's not meant to be taken seriously. It's not meant to be a call to action to attack people or make people feel bad or anything like that. Don't fall for their trap. They're leveraging your time. Okay. They're leveraging your time and attention for their own personal benefits, but don't fall for their trap and feel like you have to go attack people because you heard something this guy said on his video about somebody that you don't even know.
And that's what I want to specifically say. People were attacking Dan. He is my friend. I know him. I know what kind of collector he is. Some people just don't know him that are just falling trapped to some of this content out there. I want to just second that just watch out for that, because just stay away from that negative stuff. Just keep positive. That's all it is. So cool stuff.
Awesome, guys. Well, hey, listen, it was an awesome show, man. Again, Dan, many thanks, Dan. Brother. You're awesome, dude. Keep putting out that great content, man. Keep being you. Don't let anybody out there steer you the wrong way, man. You're awesome at what you do. And guys, as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll get back to you. Put your comments there. I did put a
link there for Dan if anybody wants to find his stuff. I did put a link there, so just go down to the link. So
yep. Make sure you guys all follow us.
Yeah, having me on. Thank you for allowing me to jump on and have this conversation. It's one of the best conversations I've had in a while. So I really appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to the next meeting of the new Marvel Illuminati. So thank you for that, guys.
All right.
Awesome, guys. Have a good night.
See you guys.